And welcome to this edition of Making Sense. You have probably heard the word stable coin thrown around recently, but that sparks some questions because what is it really? How does it stay stable? Is it safe? Is it even regulated? In this Making Sense, we're breaking down the basics with some hopefully clear answers to the crypto questions that many of you have probably been wondering about. I know I have. I'm going to learn a lot in the next 20 minutes or so. Alex, thanks so much for joining us. All right, so let's start with the very basics. You're going to educate me today. So, what is a stable coin, and how does it differ from other currencies and other cryptocurrencies that are out there? So, let's start with the very basics. Stable coin, what is it?
Yeah, it's a great question, Mark. I'll start off by saying everyone's pretty well aware of what cryptocurrencies are at this point in time. The
Yeah.
Bitcoin, the Ethereum of the worlds, those are pretty well established, well-known names in households. Stable coins are something that are not as established. They're more of a newer thing.
Okay.
They've been around for a little while, but they're becoming more of a household name. So what are they? Stable coins are similar to a crypto coin in the fact that they are a digital coin,
Okay.
but instead of having a lot of volatility within what the cryptocurrency is, these are attached to something. And so what that means is a stable coin is
Mhm.
usually backed by some type of asset. So, for example, back in the day when the US dollar used to be tied to gold, the gold
Right.
standard, this is very similar in that a stable coin is attached to either the US dollar or the treasuries or things like that, that they're backed from a one-to-one standpoint. So you could spend a stable coin that is attached to a US dollar, and one coin is attached to $1. And the purpose for that is so that way they are not as volatile. They don't
Right.
go up and down in value and large fluctuations. They're able to be spent in the same way that you could spend a US dollar in terms of the fluctuation of the dollar. When it comes to the difference between the different currencies, I mean, obviously it's backed by the US dollar. The US dollars are there to back up the currency, but it is not a US dollar. So it is not necessarily regulated by the US government, but the stablecoin itself is backed by a US dollar.
Okay. More questions.
Yeah,
Great answer. Sparked some questions. Okay.
absolutely.
So our stable coins are like a class. There are multiple. It's not like Bitcoin, which Bitcoin to me is kind of like a brand. That's a Bitcoin,
Mhm.
right? Is stablecoin a currency or is it a type of currencies?
It is a type of
Okay.
currency.
Okay.
So, for example, one of the second most popular one is called USDC. And what it stands for is the US, it's the coin for the US dollar.
Okay. US dollar
US
coin.
dollar
Okay.
coin. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the most obvious one, backed by the US dollar, and
Okay.
it's a one-to-one ratio between the US dollar and the coin. But
Okay.
there can be a multitude of different kinds of stable coins. It's like cryptocurrency to Bitcoin, stable coin to the USDC.
Okay. So, you've used the example that, if, for example, the USDC is tied to the US dollar.
Mhm.
These things can be tied, stable coins can be tied to things other than the US dollar.
Yeah, so they can also be tied to things like gold
Okay.
or US treasuries. So when the US issues debt in US treasuries, people can purchase them and then use them as the backing for a stable coin.
Okay. So there's not the volatility, and we may
Mhm.
get into this later, but there's not the volatility that we see with Bitcoin because, in theory, it's tied to a less volatile backing rather than just emotions or tweets or things that can drive
Exactly.
Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin can go up and down. There can be some movement in the value, but the thing that these are tied to do not show the emotional volatility that can drive something like a Bitcoin.
Yes,
Okay.
100%. To your point, though, there
Mhm.
can be times in which the stable coin is not directly tied to the backing. So
Okay.
the idea is that it is always a one-to-one ratio, one US dollar to one coin. But if there is let's say something happens and there's a bunch of USDC that is sold quickly, that may change the supply and demand of that versus the US dollar. So in a perfect world, it is 1 to 1. It may fluctuate slightly, deviate from that 1 to 1 ratio.
So it's interesting, but what are the benefits of using something like a stable coin?
Yeah. What the benefits are as you use them for payments. Like if you
Hmm.
were to go to a store and use a debit card, we've talked in these
Right.
segments about what interchange looks like, how what money comes back to the financial institution and to Mastercard or Visa.
Hmm.
If you use stablecoin to make purchases, the way that those transactions go through to your financial institution are much different. They're not using the MasterCard or Visa network. They are using the stablecoin network, the blockchain network, that then has a significantly less per transaction cost to
Okay.
accomplish the same transaction. So there's that, and also when it comes to cash, you don't necessarily need the cash that you used to need. There's when you with the blockchain technology, as of right now, it is more secure than if you were to use a debit card. For example, there's a lot of fraud that happens on debit cards when you're performing transactions. The one thing that there is right now with stablecoin is not as well known as a debit card, obviously.
Right.
So there's not as many merchants that take that as payment at this point in time. But that's one of the major benefits is there's less expenses when it comes to completing those transactions.
Are stable coin, a lot of people, um, and again, I'm not by no means an expert on this, but a lot of people use cryptocurrencies as an investment. Like
Mhm.
you're playing the ponies, right? Like I think it's going to go up, I think it's going to go down. Is there the same kind of thought with stable coin because it's less volatile, so there may not be as much of an upswing, right? So do people invest in stable coin or do people use stable coin? I guess that's my question.
That's a great question. I would say that people are more going to be using stablecoin than
Okay.
investing in stablecoin. If you think that the US dollar is going to go up in value, you may say, well, I'm going to put it in the USDC that is tied to the dollar, but you're not necessarily going to be investing in it. Some of the new regulations that are looking to come out actually say that with the stablecoin, you're not able to earn interest when you have it in a stable coin. Like there's no interest that can be earned. So at that point, it may make sense to actually keep it in cash in an account to earn
Mhm.
interest,
Right.
because then you have your dollar plus the interest on it. So it's more of a payment method for the stable coin than it is to
Okay.
actually invest in a Bitcoin or Ethereum kind of cryptocurrency.
Now you spoke of like the security that sometimes the blockchain can provide us.
Mm-hmm.
Are there some risks associated with stablecoin transactions, and can those be mitigated?
Yeah, there certainly are risks. I mean, with anything, there's going to be risks. But one of the things is what does the security look like because it is unknown. The
Hmm.
idea right now is that it is incredibly secure because of the way that the blockchain network works.
Hmm.
It's a lot harder to crack those codes. But what does that look like 3 years from now, 5 years from now? In theory, it should still be secure, but there's just unknown around it. There's also unknown around regulation. What is the next, because it's so new, what does the next 3 to 5 years look like when it comes to regulation? The largest concern when it comes to the risk is if you're using a stable coin to make a purchase,
Hmm.
once you send the payment, that payment is gone. There is no being able to climb that payment back if you something happens with the product that you purchased, or there's no way for us to be able to get those funds back. Once it's gone, the money is gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's a thinker. Yeah, you've mentioned regulation. It's new, And
Mhm.
sometimes it takes a while for the regulations to kind of catch up to how people are using something or what the pitfalls may be. Are there upcoming regulations when it comes to stable coins? And would those regulations impact users or credit unions?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the current administration is excited about crypto in general, stablecoin being a large piece of that. And so within the Genius Act that is currently running through the system, there's a number of things within there for stablecoin. One of them being regulating who has the ability to issue stablecoin. It's pretty cut and dry at this point within the act of who can do that and really heavily regulating it. It also has a lot of transparency clauses within it. So you talk about, well, we have the dollar that backs the stable coin. Well, what does that actually mean? And can there be
Mhm.
could there be stable coins that, yeah, they say they do, but it's not actually realistic? That's one of the risks.
Mhm.
But what the Genius Act says is that there has to be a transparency between the stablecoin and the end user, and there are monthly audits that have to be completed to ensure that it is actually backed by a liquid asset. So the Genius Act, which is the reason why this is becoming more of a popular thing, is because this has really brought it to light. And so there's a lot of things within there that will help regulate and make this a more secure network.
And ultimately, I think that's what everybody is hoping for, especially if you're talking about transactions, because you're not buying a pack of gum with this. If you're talking about, you're probably talking about larger scale transactions. And if the
Yeah.
money's gone, the money's gone. You want to make sure you get it. All right. So who who's the demo? I mean, nobody rolls out a product unless they think somebody it's going to catch on with somebody, right? Like,
Mhm.
so who is stablecoin? Who's the demographic they're going out? Who do they hope uses stablecoin?
Yeah, I mean, the younger generation is going to be obviously the first users to the stablecoin because they already have the Robinhoods. I mean, their average age of a Robinhood user is 35. They've got cryptocurrency within the Robinhood app. There's a lot of things there. So they're more used to having a digital wallet already,
Mm-hmm.
but the hope is that it spreads throughout for the stablecoin users of having it be just like your debit card or credit card, where you go out and use your stablecoin to make purchases instead of using a debit card and credit card. So it's a new way of performing payments as we move into the future, feeling like it's more secure, feeling like there's less expenses involved in the transactions. But the one thing that I haven't mentioned yet
Mm-hmm.
is it being more real time. So, like I say, once you send a transaction, it doesn't come back. You're not able to get it back. It's also real time. Once you send that payment, funds are gone. So it's a real time 24/7 transactions that can happen around the clock, sent anywhere that you want to send those payments. Unlike today, where sometimes you can run an ACH transaction, it may take 2 to 3 days. You
Mm-hmm.
can run a debit card transaction, it may pend on your account for the weekend and not actually hit your account until Monday, or it may fall off and then hit it on Tuesday. This is very real time. So the demographic is really everyone because of what could change as you move into that world.
So so we've got young, hip, cool people wanting to use this. How do and I'm not going to say they're old or they're not hip or not cool, but how do like traditional finance organizations? How are they going to incorporate this? Because they're not going to leave a demographic out of services they can provide. So how does a more traditional financial institution how does that incorporate that?
Yeah, so it's very up in the air right now of how that's
Yeah.
actually going to be, how it's going to work. I'm not, yeah, it's very up in the air. But the way that I see something like this likely playing out is financial institutions having a digital wallet where you have the ability to have a stable coin within your digital wallet where you can make payments. Um, what does that look like? How do you actually make payments? Like, what is the reality of it? What I've been reading is that it's very similar to what Venmo does. So if you want to make a payment to someone via Venmo, you get a QR code this person that's sending the money scans the QR code, and then they, in their Venmo account, they then send the money out. When it comes to stablecoin, it will likely be similar, where a merchant or a store has a QR code for the specific transaction that you need to pay. You scan that QR code with your phone, and then that sends you to your digital wallet, where then you can send those funds to the merchant or whoever you're paying through their digital wallet, and it can be converted out of the stablecoin into US dollars, if that's what that merchant or provider says that they want to have done. Um, yeah, so that's kind of how that whole thing will work, how the transactions will be carried out. That's one way. The other way is you could just have it on a debit card, but use stablecoin to make purchases with your debit card. That's the other way to do it at this point.
All right, Alex. I hate to spring a question on you,
Yeah.
but you're a smart guy, and we can maybe figure this out together. Okay, so you've got your digital wallet, and you've got stablecoin, and you have Bitcoin, and you have all your other crypto in there. Okay, why would somebody be like, oh, I want to do this, and the person you're buying something from, or the other person, organization, whatever, will take any single one of them. Why would you pick stablecoin over these other ones?
Yeah, so it's more about the payment, the transaction. So Bitcoin,
Okay.
I mean, you can make payments with it, but the stable coin is going to be the thing that's tied directly to the dollar.
Yes.
So
Okay.
there's going to be a lot of merchants or people that you can pay that may not be interested in taking Bitcoin because of the volatility in it.
Right.
So the stable coin, you know what you're getting when you receive a USDC dollar or coin, you know that it's $1. If you were to get one Bitcoin, the value at this moment is X. 3 minutes from now, it may be Y.
Right.
So it's more stable,
Okay.
um, versus the other types of crypto that you could use.
So for both a user, uh, somebody that has it in their wallet, and a vendor, let's say, or an organization, if you're one of those people that's like, I don't really want to, I don't want to treat this like an investment as to when I should sell this in order to get paid, or
Mhm.
when I should sell this to get this stable coin, kind of takes some of that out of the equation, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and what I'm understanding is that when someone that receives payment actually gets that payment, it can automatically be converted to US dollars versus it being a coin at the time of transaction.
that that's I can see where that would be appealing to a lot of people,
Hmm.
because I imagine if you own a lot of Bitcoin, you're always like, do I sell it now? Do I wait? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? And I can't imagine doing that with a cryptocurrency payment for something that you sold or something like that.
Hmm.
And then now suddenly, not only are you a vendor of things you're selling, but suddenly you're also a financial investor trying to figure out when to take your profit, or when to take
Yeah.
your payment, even, right? It's one more thing. And that with the stable coin is far less part of the equation.
Yes, 100%. The way that I look at it, it's the cryptocurrency is more of an investment tool.
Yeah. Okay.
The stable coin is more of a payment tool.
It's a transaction tool. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yep.
it's really interesting. Are you seeing much of this at the credit union?
So it's not something that we've dug too deep into. Like I said, it's all very new.
Ooh,
We've
yeah.
just been trying to get into the investigation phase of what does this even look like? And what are financial institutions thinking about this? Could it be a disruptor to the industry?
Mhm.
Not only our industry, but many other industries when you begin to start thinking about blockchain and all the things that are going to be coming with that, as well as stablecoin and cryptocurrency. So there's a lot to just process. It's a wait and see what's going to happen. But we're here for the ride, and we're excited to see
Right.
where it takes us.
Yeah, it's one of the things where you got to kind of, how much do you want to dance with this thing, you know? And if you are going to, there's things you certainly have to do,
Mhm.
and have your ducks in a row on that. It's all very fascinating. It feels like, this is, uh, such an area in our financial planning and financial possibilities. This feels like a potentially a seismic shift, not just stablecoin, but all crypto.
Mhm.
I can't really remember much in the banking world that kind of exploded and potentially either needs to be incorporated or could change. This is a big one, right? For financial institutions, the whole cryptocurrency, that whole concept, it's a pretty big pivot point, right?
Yeah, I would liken it to before my time, but back when debit cards, like the actual plastic themselves, became a thing, and how much resistance there was back then to the cards of, well, I don't want to use a card, I want cash. Like that's the way that we do transactions. And today, most people use their cards. Not everyone, a lot of people still use cash, and that's obviously very acceptable, but a lot of transactions are done using
Yeah.
cards. And so could this, as we move forward, just change the way that people do their banking? It absolutely could. To wait to see, but 100% could change the way that things happen.
Well, Alex, you've educated me. I appreciate it so much. Anything else you want to add about stablecoin?
No, I think that that covers the basics at the very least.
All right. Well, that's a good place to start. We should at least understand the basics before we start adding them to our wallets. So, Alex, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you here again in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Appreciate the time, Mark.
Take care.